Welcome everyone to F1 Blogs and the Deep Dive. This is your shortcut to really getting under the skin of the big stories. We dig through all the sources, the reports, the expert takes, and pull out what you actually need to know. Our mission is simple, give you the why behind the what, so you're properly informed without drowning in info. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into something pretty significant from the world of Formula One. It involves the young Argentinian driver Franco Colapinto. He had quite a serious accident during a really critical Pirelli tyre test out at the Hungaroring. And this isn't just about a crash, it really opens a window onto F1 development, driver pressure, the whole high-wire act.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here, I think, is how it all connects. It's not just one incident in isolation. You've got the future regulations, the absolute cutting edge of tire tech, and the human element, the psychology of a young driver. When you dig into the why of something like this, you get such a richer feel for F1. You know, way beyond just the Sunday results. And for today's deep dive, we're drawing heavily on the excellent analysis and reporting over at F1 Blogs Online, really top-notch stuff for understanding the nuances.
The deeper understanding is exactly what we're after. So let's start peeling back the layers. First off, the breaking news itself. How did this all unfold?
Right, so the first reports coming out of the Hungaroring were definitely startling. Franco Colapinto, who, is part of the Alpine setup, making his way up, involved in a serious shunt. What really made it significant beyond just the crash itself was the timing and the context. It happened during one of Pirelli's big tire tests. These are like super important, kind of secretive tests for the 2026 season. Not your average track day. Absolutely not. These are closed sessions, vital for figuring out the future direction of the sports tires.
And the details that F1 Blogs reported painted a pretty stark picture. Colapinto lost control. Where was it? Second sector.
Yeah, second sector, specifically curve 11. And the report said he impacted the barriers quite strongly.
And whenever you hear high-speed crash during testing, especially with new components maybe involved, everyone holds their breath for a second.
You really do. The first thought is always about the driver's well-being.
But thankfully, and this is the really crucial bit, the team reported pretty quickly that Franco was okay. He got checked out right there at the circuit's medical center and, thankfully got the all clear.
That's always the best news you can hear after something like that. Massive relief for everyone.
Definitely. So this all happened very recently, Wednesday, August 6th, middle of the day, around 11 a.m. local time. It was the second day of these specific Pirelli tests.
Right. And as you said, these tests are private, so no TV cameras rolling, no official footage of the incident itself.
But we did get some visual clues. F1 Blogs mentioned photos circulating, I think, from Carol Cirque F1.
Yes, respected F1 photographer. Those images apparently show the extent of the damage pretty clearly.
And it wasn't minor. The Alpine, which was a modified car for this test, was described as quite battered.
Yeah, that phrase certainly suggests a significant impact. It really underlines the force involved.
And it reinforces that relief that Franco was okay. The reports mentioned the right side of the car took the main hit. We'll probably circle back to that detail.
We should. That detail might be important. But first, let's maybe zoom out a bit. Why were they even doing this test? What's the bigger picture here?
Okay, so connecting this to the bigger picture, these Pirelli tests are absolutely fundamental. They are all about developing the tires for 2026.
The year of the big regulation change.
Precisely. 2026 is a massive shakeup for F1, a complete overhaul of the technical regulations. We're talking totally redesigned cars.
Smaller, lighter, less complex aero, right? That's the plan. Smaller, lighter, and crucially, a significant reduction in aerodynamic performance. Downforce is going way down. The current thinking, based on F1 Blogs analysis, is that the 2026 cars could be somewhere between, say, 2 to 4 seconds slower per lap.
2 to 4 seconds?
Yeah.
Wow. In F1 terms, that is. That's an eternity.
It's huge, a massive performance shift. It fundamentally changes what the car can do.
So if the cars are going to be that much slower, with less grip from the aero, the tires become even more critical.
Exactly. You can't just bolt current tires onto those cars. Pirelli has this huge job of creating completely new tire compounds and structures. They need tiles that work perfectly with these, less aerodynamically potent machines.
To keep the racing good and obviously keep the drivers safe.
That's the dual goal, competitive racing, driver safety. So at this Hungaroring test, they were running prototypes, specifically the C3, C4, and C5 compounds.
The softer end of the range, generally.
Right. Higher grip compounds, typically. These are early versions, mind you, trying to understand how they behave under load. gathering data for these future cars that don't even fully exist yet.
It's like trying to design a shoe before you know the exact size of the foot.
Kind of, yeah. It's a massive challenge. And Pirelli has a tight schedule for this. So after the Hungarian Grand Prix, they had 2 days booked at the Hungaroring. Tuesday, August 5th, you had McLaren, Racing Bulls, and Alpine running their modified test cars.
Okay.
Then Wednesday the 6th, the day of the accident, it was Alpine again, and also Ferrari. And Franco Colapinto was driving for Alpine on that Wednesday, alongside Pierre Gasly. They were both tasked with putting these 2026 prototypes through their paces.
So yeah, like you said, definitely not just a routine test. This was proper cutting-edge development, pushing boundaries for cars that are meant to be fundamentally different.
Absolutely. And that context is key to understanding the pressures and the potential risks involved, even for experienced teams and drivers.
Okay, so let's zoom right back in on the specifics of the crash site. Curve 11 at the Hungaroring. The analysis from F1 blogs really emphasizes this spot. It's described pretty unequivocally as the fastest corner on the whole circuit.
It really is. High commitment, very high speed.
During a race weekend with the cars trimmed out, they're hitting, 220, 230 kilometers per hour through there? Maybe more.
Easily in that ballpark. It's
Yeah.
seriously quick, which means any mistake there has potentially big consequences. The energy involved is immense.
And the detail about the impact. Hitting the barriers with the right side of the car? That seems like a crucial piece of the puzzle. Especially since, as F1 blogs noted, we don't have any video.
Right. Without video, you're relying on eyewitness accounts, photos of the aftermath, and eventually telemetry data. But that right side impact, it does make you wonder about the sequence of events.
How does a car end up hitting the barrier on the right in a right-hand corner?
Well, this raises an important question, doesn't it? And without official word from the team or driver yet, which is typical for these private tests, we have to rely on plausible scenarios. The F1 blog's analysis suggests 2 main possibilities.
Okay, what are they?
Scenario 1, he loses the rear end mid-corner, oversteer in that fast right-hander, the back steps out.
Right.
He catches it, maybe instinctively applies a bit of opposite lock, but perhaps it overcorrects just slightly, and that flicks the car the other way, sending it right side first into the barrier. It happens incredibly fast at those speeds.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the other idea?
Scenario 2 is maybe simpler, but just as possible. A full spin, or at least a half spin. He loses control completely, the car rotates, and depending on the angle of rotation when it reaches the edge of the track, it could absolutely end up hitting the barriers with the right side.
Right, so either an overcorrection trying to save it, or a full loss of control leading to a spin.
Exactly. Both are credible explanations for a right side impact in that specific corner, given the dynamics involved. Without telemetry or video, it's hard to say definitively. The team will know, or at least have a very good idea from the data.
And either way, hitting the barriers at the fastest corner means a significant impact. The photos showed the car was quite battered, especially that right side.
Which, again, just highlights how well the safety structures, both the car and the circuit, did their job. But it still leaves that question, why there? Why curve 11? And that brings us neatly to the next crucial factor.
Yeah, curve 11 isn't just about speed. There's another reason it's so critical, especially in this context. It's the corner on the Hungaroring where aerodynamic low-downforce plays the biggest role. It's where you rely most heavily on the car's aero pushing it into the track.
To generate that massive grip needed for such high cornering speed.
Precisely. And here's the absolute key piece of information, the detail that F1 blogs really highlighted. These Pirelli test cars, they weren't running in standard F1 race trim.
Right, you mentioned they were modified, heavily modified. Specifically, they were set up to have significantly less aerodynamic load than the normal current generation cars.
The less downforce. Okay, why would they do that? Seems counterintuitive for a fast track like Hungary.
It seems counterintuitive if you think about setting a fast lap time, yes. But the purpose here was different. The goal was to make these current cars behave more like the 2026 cars are expected to behave.
Because the 2026 cars will have much less downforce due to the new rules.
Exactly. So they're taking a known quantity, a current chassis like the Alpine, and deliberately stripping away a lot of its aerodynamic grip. It's a simulation exercise.
Trying to give the drivers in Pirelli a feel for what that lower downforce future will be like.
That's the idea. It's about gathering data on how the prototype tires react in a low-grip aerodynamic scenario, which is what they'll face in 2026.
So they're effectively handicapping the car's aero to predict the future.
You put it that way. And F1 blogs provided some great examples of just how extreme this was. Apparently on Tuesday, another Alpine driver was running an A523, that's the 2023 car, and it had what was described as a very low downforce rear wing.
Like something you'd see at Monza.
Exactly. The description was it looked like a Monza or Spa wing, utterly out of place for a high downforce track like the Hungaroring in race conditions. That visual tells you a lot.
Okay.
Then on Wednesday, Colapinto and Gasly were in a modified A525, which is this year's car.
Right.
Now think about this. F1 cars generally get faster year on year, developing more downforce. So if the 2023 car needed a Monza wing to simulate 2026, this year's A525 likely needed even more drastic aerodynamic reduction to hit that same low downforce target.
Because it started with a higher baseline level of grip.
Precisely. So Colapinto was likely driving a car with fundamentally radically less downforce than it was originally designed to have.
And he's trying to drive this compromised car through the fastest corner on the track, the one that needs the most downforce.
You see where this is heading? That dramatically reduced downforce, especially in Curve 11, becomes a massive variable. It makes the car feel completely different, much more on edge, much less planted than usual.
This whole modified aero situation really seems to put Colapinto's recent experience into sharp focus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think about it. Just days before this test, he'd just driven the full Hungarian Grand Prix weekend in a standard Alpine A525, a car set up with maximum downforce, optimized specifically for the Hungaroring's demands, every setting dialed in for grip.
Absolutely nailed down for that specific track configuration.
Then just a couple of days later, he jumps into what is nominally the same chassis, the A525, but it's been transformed. It's now this low downforce test mule.
A totally different car, as the F1 blog's analysis put it.
So what happens when you make that switch, especially for a driver still building F1 experience, pushing hard in a critical test?
Well, this leads directly to the leading hypothesis for the accident, which F1 blogs articulated really well. The thinking is that Franco perhaps didn't quite measure well, as they put it, that sheer lack of aerodynamic grip, particularly in Curve 11.
The fastest corner, the one most reliant on that now missing downforce.
Exactly. Imagine you spent days, weeks, years training your body and brain to attack that corner at, say, 230 kilometers, relying on a certain level of grip that feels baked in. Then suddenly, that expected grip just isn't there to the same extent. The car won't stick like your instincts tell you it should.
Your muscle memory is screaming one thing, but the car is doing another.
Precisely. It requires this huge mental recalibration almost instantly at incredibly high speed. It's not about skill, necessarily, but about adapting to a fundamentally altered reality of how the car behaves at the absolute limit.
A momentary misjudgment of that new limit seems almost inevitable under those circumstances.
It seems highly plausible. And it's crucial to stress, as the F1 blog source did, this isn't about making excuses for Colapinto.
Right, not blaming him.
No. It's about providing a logical, technically grounded explanation for why the accident might have happened. The drastic change in the car's aerodynamic behavior, combined with the demands of Curve 11, offers a very compelling reason. It just highlights the insane difficulty and the razor-thin margins involved in this kind of cutting-edge testing. They're literally exploring the unknown.
Yeah, it really does paint a picture. And this whole incident also makes you think about Colapinto himself and his season up to this point. It hasn't been the smoothest start for him at Alpine, has it? F1 blogs mentioned that earlier crash in Imola.
That wasn't ideal early on. Setbacks like that can add pressure.
And maybe, overall, his performance hadn't quite hit the consistent highs we saw sometimes when he was with Williams last year. He had some really standout drives there.
He did. He definitely showed flashes of serious speed and potential with Williams.
But, and this is a really important but, we absolutely have to talk about the weekend just before this test. The Hungarian Grand Prix itself.
Yes. Crucial context.
He put in a really strong performance there. He actually out-qualified his teammate, Pierre Gasly.
Which is no small achievement. Gasly is a proven race winner, very experienced. And Hungaroring is a proper driver's track. Out-qualifying your teammate there means you found some real pace.
Definitely. It showed that underlying speed is absolutely still there.
And this is the positive we should really focus on, despite this testing accident. Yes, maybe the race didn't pan out perfectly. F1 blogs speculated he might have finished ahead of Gasly with cleaner pit stops or a better start.
Right, the usual F1 variables.
Exactly. But the key takeaway from Hungary was that his actual pace was arguably superior to his teammates that weekend. That's a huge confidence booster. or should be. It proves the talent that impressed everyone at Williams is still there, ready to come through, even in what seems like a tricky Alpine situation this year.
That qualifying performance was a definite high point before this testing low. But the timing of this crash, it's just really unfortunate for him personally.
Dreadful timing.
It happened on his very last day driving an F1 car before the summer break. The whole sport shuts down for weeks.
Yeah, imagine that. Your last act before a 3-week holiday is a significant shunt in a test car. Not exactly the positive note you want to end on.
And F1 blogs also noted that the other Alpine driver had completed their test day the day before without any issues.
Which just makes Colapinto'S incident maybe stand out a bit more, unfortunately. Adds a little extra spotlight he probably didn't want.
The pressure on these young guys is just immense, especially in testing where every lap counts and mistakes are scrutinized.
And the mental side of this is huge. F1 blogs print it quite well, saying an incident like this can make you eat your head a lot during the holidays.
Meaning it just replays in your mind.
Exactly. Instead of switching off, relaxing, maybe building on that positive Hungary result, you could spend weeks just dwelling on the crash. What went wrong? Why? Could I have done something different? It can really gnaw away at your confidence.
That does sound tough. A real mental burden heading into the break.
And there's another small factor, maybe less significant, but still there. The financial side.
The cost of repairs.
Yeah. An accident like this, especially with visible damage, costs the team extra money, as F1 blogs put it. Repairs, parts. It adds up. And the analysis mentioned Alpine's budget isn't exactly buoyant right now.
So while it's part of the business of F1, it's still an unplanned expense.
It is. And for a driver, especially a younger one, knowing your mistake potentially costs the team money, even if it's accepted as part of testing, can add another layer of mental pressure. It's subtle, but it can be there.
So yeah, heading into the break with a crash potentially on repeat in his head, plus that background awareness of the costs, it's a difficult way to pause the season. Okay, but let's not end on that downbeat note. Let's shift to the positive, the silver lining for Franco Colapinto going forward.
Absolutely, because despite the setback, there's a genuinely promising scenario waiting for him when F1 resumes after the summer break. Well, once they get past the next race, the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, which is a tough, old-school track and likely new for him in an F1 car.
Okay.
After Zandvoort, the calendar moves to circuits where Franco has already raced in Formula One.
Familiarity. That makes a huge difference.
A massive difference, especially for a driver still embedding themselves in the F1 environment. He won't be learning track layouts from scratch at breakneck speed.
They'll know the braking points, the tricky corners, the flow.
Exactly. F1 blogs mention tracks like Monza, Baku, Singapore, and generally a lot of circuits coming up where he drove last year, probably with Williams during his development time or FP1 sessions.
Places where he's already logged laps, felt the car at speed.
Right. That foundational knowledge is invaluable. It frees up so much mental capacity.
So how does that translate to performance? Does that comfort allow him to show more of his true potential?
That's the expectation. When you're comfortable with the track, you can focus entirely on extracting performance, fine-tuning the setup, pushing the limits confidently. You're not spending half your brain power just learning where the road goes.
Makes sense.
And F1 blogs pointed out that he actually performed quite well, even very fast, on some of these upcoming tracks last year.
So there's proof he can be quick at these specific venues.
Yes, tangible evidence. These aren't just random tracks. They're places where he's already shown pace.
Okay, so wrapping up the outlook for Franco.
Look, the crash happened. It's not ideal, especially the timing, but the key is to focus on the positives. He absolutely should take confidence from that strong Hungarian GP qualifying performance. That's real, recent proof of his speed.
Hold on to that feeling.
Exactly. And then look forward. Look forward to these upcoming circuits where he has experience, where he feels comfortable. Those races represent a fantastic opportunity for him to settle in, show his consistency, demonstrate that speed we know he has, and hopefully put this Hungaroring testing incident well and truly behind him. It's a chance to build momentum again. #tagoutro.
And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Wow, we covered a lot there. From the initial shock of Franco Colapinto's crash, delving into the really complex world of modified aero for F1 testing.
Yeah, understanding how 2026 rules affect a 2024 test.
Right. And then looking at the human side,